Okay, saw this game was going on, thought it might be worth a look. We have, this is for the Xmas GB, which I have not caught any of recorded, but, opened up. This game was happening. Um, pretty clearly, Tezuka started with a weak corner in one, which makes a lot of sense, right? He has arguably three cards for nine, and so sticking one of them in one gives the other cards target. Akiyama has been capturing starters a lot, which I have as well, though I think we do it quite differently. Um, Now, this very much keeps the game directed where Tezuka wanted to put it. The first thing I want to note is Tezuka doesn't have safety in 7. I have this very quick heuristic that in positions where there is a line of 3 cards, if first turn has safe card and second turn has 2 vulnerable cards, so second turn's up 6-4, but first turn is the only safe card, those positions tend to be pretty balanced, and depending on the exact sequences, you can play them for advantages. There's not that option here. Now the question then becomes, do you have a good recapture in 2? And we notice that those 5s to the right are comboed hard by 3-4-8-8. So you're left with 8-2-8-7 or 2-8-5-8. Now, I'm just coming to this game as you are, so I have no pre-thoughts here. Both of those moves in 2 look playable. He goes for 8-2-8-7. Now, 2-8-5-8 probably, in many ways, has less play over the game, but I was sort of leaning this way too instinctively as well. I'm not sure. I didn't check setups in 6 or anything like that. All right. There are good recaptures in 5. It's pretty unlikely that, the 5s to the right are not going to be near as big a problem now because the 3-4-8-8 is not a 4-3-8-8, so the 5s to the right don't get picked off now. However, so I think the reason to use this card is this card couldn't land in 5, right? The 8 down is punished hard by 6-8-4-6, and occasionally, never actually 9-4-4-7. All right, so Akiyama does take. This does look logical. And because Tezuka only has one card that can land in 5 or 6, only the one. Now, I think one interesting line doesn't really work, but one interesting line is 2-8-5-8 and 7 here. Because if 6-8-4-6 and 7, you then play 9-5-1-9 and 5. And by delaying that, you find some way to land 2-8-5-8 or 5-5-7-9, specifically 2-8-5-8. You find some way to land it that's not dead, and when it's sacrificed, you get other cards. On the other hand, Akiyama can also just block 5. But that should be a tie as well. You play 9-5-1-9-6, you're up 6-4, and 5-5-7-9 is decent at the end. Why is my phone making noises? It's emails I don't want from my bank. Great. All right. Now, the more standard ways to play it are 9-5-1-9 and 5 or 6. If you play in 6, you lose your threat in 5. If you play in 5, you lose your threat in 6. But playing in 5 captures 2 cards, and one of those cards is a card you cannot capture otherwise. Another potentially interesting idea is 2-8-5-8 and 8. I kind of like the look of 2-8-5-8 and 8. That seems like it should be solid, right? If they block 5, you can now play in 7. And they potentially can combo you through 9, right? They can combo the card in 8, thus flipping 7. But your 9-5-1-9 you keep for last turn, and 9-5-1-9 is just guaranteed all the captures. What I'm trying to do here, I think there's many ways to tie this game. I think most of the standard moves should tie. But what I'm trying to do is find. Mostly what I'm saying is, I am lazy and don't want to calculate the moves out to the end. So I am thinking the way you shouldn't think in a game, which is on move 5, you should start calculating. If you find an idea you like, you should check at least the critical lines, right? If 9-5-1-9 and 5 is your main move, you should say, okay, do they have a setup in 9? Something like 6-8-4-6 and 9, you have to double check because 9-4-4-7 landing in 8 is really powerful there. So, okay, you have to check that. You have to check, do they have moves in 6? You can do 6 pretty quickly, right? If they play in 6, they make it 5-5. You can go at the worst 2-8-5-8 and 7, and you're going to tie. Your 5-5-7-9 sweeps the bottom. So that one's really quick. And you have to check 7. Specifically, 6-8-4-6 and 7 is probably the one you check. And you go, okay, I can take that. I'm up 6-4. They can't combo. All right, that's at least a tie. But the main thing you probably have to end up spending your time on then is 9. But you have to do that check, and you have to do that check for each of the critical moves you identify. What I'm doing as a commentator is conceptually going, my 9-5-1-9 is such a powerful sweeper that if I can find something useful for my other cards to do, I should be in good shape, because my other cards do not play well. So I'm looking at moves like 2-8-5-8 and 7, because that's almost safe, and so that is doing something. That's easy to lock in, that's hardish for them to take, maybe. I'm looking at 2-8-5-8 and 8, that sets up a combo in 7, and it gives my 5-5-7-9 some play, because it can now land in 7 or 9. Notice it's not a bad card at all for 9, because it can take any of the 4s facing down. So 5-5-7-9 is actually a pretty good card after I do that. Yeah, actually, 2-8-5-8, if they go 7, we can go 9-5-1-9 and 5, and we win. 5-5-7-9 is really good. If they go 5, we don't win. Or don't we? If they go 5, we can go 6. So 2-8-5-8 is actually very promising in 8. Now, he does not go in 8. I should put this into my database. Got too many windows open. Here. So he goes for 7, which I think also made some sense, right? This is a move I was looking at. I do think 8 hit a little stronger. But also, it's worth noting, like, Akiyama's not going to blow this position if it's a tie. So unless 8 was winning, the difference is just not that important. It is important against weaker opponents. So the game went 8-4-6-6-1, 7-6-8-3-4, 8-2-8-7-2, 3-4-8-8-3, 2-8-5-8-7. And this does achieve the thing of playing a card that potentially has no play, right? Finding a way to use it. 9-4-4-7 lands in 5, and 5-5-7-9 and 8 is the easy tie. There is a same in 6, but you're down 6-4, you make it 5-5, they capture, you capture. 9-5-1-9 in 6, you go up 6-4, they double capture in 8, they go up 6-4, you tie in 9, that's also a tie. You have a plus in 6. But it's comboed back. Okay. Just noticing that 5-5-7-9 and 6, which I should have seen quicker, but 8-7-4-4 has this plus in 8, so Akiyama has laid a trap here. No, but that's comboed back by 9-5-1-9. Wait a second. I think Akiyama just blew it. What is this? I think he missed the plus. 5-5-7-9 and 6 flips everything. And sure, 8-7-4-4 flips back, but 9-5-1-9 has a plus on the 7s. 6-6-4-8 only flips 2 things back. You lose. 9-5-1-9 sweeps. Wow. I guess when I said you should the differences in pressure don't matter, that was deeply incorrect. Careless mistake here. And we'll see. I think if you're Tezuka, there's a reason it could be hard to find here, which is you could be in the mindset of I am trying to find ties, and if you're trying to find ties, sometimes you don't find this. Um, so I'm gonna bring up the solver. I mean, 6, 8, 4, 6, and 8. I really thought was a tie, but maybe 5, 5, 7, 9 just sweeps you there. I was thinking your 9, 4, 4, 7 lands in 9, and you hold. Still kind of think you should. Oh, 5, 5, 7, 9 lands in 5. Did I just miscalculate everything? It is very possible I miscalculated everything. Um, Here, yeah. I think what we saw here was me being oblivious to how strong this move was from Tezuka. I think that's what we saw. So we get a big 9-1 win for Tezuka. Very nicely done. Um, and I think this was one of the worst evaluated games from me. But we'll see. If 2, 8, 5, 8, and 7 isn't anything, and Akiyama blew it, then I did okay and he blew it. But if it is just a win, then I totally misevaluated everything. And you know, obviously I make lots of mistakes, but this is a pretty extreme one. It actually reminds me of a game I played against Tezuka where in a kind of similar position that looked like it should be okay for him, I played in the same kind of score as 7. It was 9 in that game, but it was the same type of thing. And I thought I was tying, and then he took forever, and then he played a loss. And it turned out he just was lost, and I just miscalculated it, and he calculated it correctly, right? And that's kind of sad for him because he saw the game better than I did in that one, and lost because I just happened to still play the right move. Um, so here, all right, let's flip over to the solver view. All right, this position's supposed to be fine. He plays 8, 2, 8, 7, and 2, and Akiyama is under pretty significant pressure. He plays 3, 4, 8, 8, and 3, which looked very normal to me. And Tezuka is not winning. So, okay. I wanted 2, 8, 5, 8, and 8, after which Akiyama has 2 ties. He can tie in 6, and he does have a tie in 7. He does have a tie in 7. My thought was this could win here, but of course there's this, right? As I pointed out in another line, the 9, 4, 4, 7 faces up. Yeah. Okay. So there is a tie here that's not that hard to find. 6 is always tough to find, but 7's not so bad. Okay. Tezuka played 2, 8, 5, 8, and 7, which only concedes 1 tie. All right, so he did do this better than me. Yeah, very clearly did this better than me. Akiyama has to find the right card to put in 5. So I had thought 6, 8, 4, 6 was tying because I had missed that this is a plus and flips an extra thing. And flipping the extra thing gets the win. Now note, if it didn't flip 8, sorry, if it didn't flip 2, right, because the plus flipping 2 is the extra thing, this would be a tie. You just go here and you tie, right? Because it would be 5, 5 if 2's not flipped. So I missed the plus because, yeah, uh, I did not do so well this game. Um, so 7 doesn't work. Oh, sorry. 8 doesn't work. And I had kind of assumed 8 probably worked. And so you have to find the right card to block 5. Now, Akiyama went for the maximal setup card. Let's try to figure this out. If we go with this card, 8, 7, 4, 4, I'm just going to move the cards because it's easier to hear what I'm saying. The problem looks like if 9, 5, 1, 9, and 6, you can't go 8 because 5, 5, 7, 9 covers you or you don't flip 7. But you can go 9. this is it. Yeah, this ties. Okay, but this was you have to find the right card to put in 5, and that can be tricky, especially when you start realizing some moves might lose. And this looks like it holds because it looks like against this, like you have the combo back, and you don't have in mind that 9519 has any potential to plus this 7. Because in no other variation did I think these two sevens face out. So it's an idea that's kind of tricky to keep in mind. But the needed tie was here. And I was wrong. I thought 2858 was probably more pressure. This was. Just to ask, this loses. And it loses to 7, which I thought it was fine against. Jeez. Bad job, me. I guess this makes sense. I think I was allowing myself to play 9519 twice in this line. Yeah, that was dumb. And this in 6 gets comboed, which I really should have said at some point. But I don't think I noticed. Yeah, so really just horrendous analysis for me this round. And nicely played by Tezuka. This move in 7, I like. I think he realized 5 and 6 are not good, right? The captures aren't good. Akiyama is very good at playing in such a way that what you want to do is undesirable. I think kind of his main shortcut to how he plays so fast and how he finds moves that seem deep and are deep is he knows what you want to do. He has a very good perspective on what's desirable for you and setting up to play against that. And these last two videos I've done have both been Akiyama games, and they've both been games where he reached a lost position, but he won one of them and lost the other against very good opponents. And a lot of it is he makes it hard for you to do what you want to. And in any position like this, right, 9519, not that card, but 9519 landing in 5 is a really big kind of thing. And he is really well positioned against it after this. He's also well positioned against 6. The moves you want to do don't work so well. And then, yeah, very nice by Tezuka here. And there you go. Nice win. Interesting game. And possibly the only game of the Xmas GB I'm going to catch because I keep like coming in 3 moves in and deciding it's too late to record. But this time I came in 2 moves in and got everything wrong. Go me.